think as an 18-year-old, I felt like the world is mine to conquer. I'm going to be back at the next Olympics and try and make that semi-final. That was the thinking in 2000.
You've gone for national sports and everything. लड़ाई हुई है कोई किसी के साथ?
Fights, the only fights that actually happened were always with the federation,
So people do pee in the pool?
Of course, we all pee in the pool.
The Tuhin Show. A city is known by its culture, history, and people. And we are talking about one such city in the series called The Icons of Bengaluru. My guest today is the lady who swam into her dreams and made it come true. She is the only athlete in India who has won 14 golds at national games, represented India in Olympics, Asian Games, and Afro-Asian Games. She runs her swimming academy in Namma, Bengaluru. Arjuna Awardee, Eklavya Award winner, Nisha Millet.
Hi, Tuhin.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm so excited to be part of your show.
You can start your food grain business. It will be called Nisha Millet.
I know. I get so many people calling me for different events when it has something to do with millets. But funnily enough, I'm the most unhealthy person and I really need to take advice and eat some millets as well, right? Just to get my health going. And we have a world champion called Stephanie Rice. So the famous joke was who would win, rice or millets?
Rice or millet.
Yeah, but in this case, rice would actually win. She's Olympic champion, I'm not.
But this is the apt representation of Bangalore.
Really?
Millet.
Yes.
Superb. But your story, you had a near drowning experience at the age of 5, then you started swimming and you went to national level. But your father was the main support for that. How big is the support of parents in making somebody's career?
In my case, it was everything. I did have a dream. So I was just 10 years old. I was watching the Olympics on TV, the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. And I saw Matt Biondi, this great American swimmer, winning gold medals, and he looked like a dolphin, doing his butterfly stroke. And I just suddenly came out with it very loudly. I said, I want to go to the Olympics. And I think the best gift my parents could have given me was not to laugh, right? Because it's a 10-year-old kid who's just learned how to swim, and you're talking about the Olympics. And in all seriousness, they said, sure, if that's your goal, we are behind you 100%. And the other good thing they did with me is they always made it my choice. So they said, you want to go to a party? Sure. You want to go swimming? It's your choice. You want to quit tomorrow? It's your choice. So I always felt like I had the power over my career. And I always chose swimming over everything else, whether it was parties, friends, drinking and smoking. Didn't go anywhere near that.
Right.
So I want to learn how to swim.
And it's required also for your lifestyle as well. It's a great exercise if you're swimming. But tell me one thing, in 2000, you were the only lady representing India in swimming.
Yes.
How did that happen? How did that time work for you?
Yeah, so in fact, it was a long, tough road. I learnt in 1992 and, you know, at 1996 at the Atlanta Olympics, I was already national champion, and there are many events. So there were 4 or 5 of us who were top in our events, and none of us made the Olympic qualifying.
Right.
So the international swimming body sets these timings to ensure that the people who come to the Olympics are of a certain standard. Until then, no Indian had qualified. So 96, nobody qualified.
Right.
You know, some money exchanged hands, which is the common thing in India. And, you know, this girl who's never swum before in India and never will again went. You know, she's from the US. Her father was Indian, her mother was American.
Okay.
Came down, you know, obviously paid some money. She went for the Olympics. And then that's when my parents said, we're not bribing anybody to get you to the Olympics. You have to earn your way there. And, you know, they say the Olympics is a 4-year training cycle.
Okay, no, your talk, it was like background music coming.
I know. You know, so once I missed out on that 96 Olympics, I realized, wow, I've got 4 years. I need to do everything possible. So it required a lot of sacrifice. I love my sugar. I gave up on sugar. I love Bangalore. I love my friends here. But I decided that very close to the 2000 Olympics that I needed that international exposure. I needed more competition because I was beating all the girls in my age group. And I said, let me go somewhere where swimming is an obsession almost, which is Australia. So my mum came with me to Australia. We went to Perth, which is a smaller city, but a really good club that I, you know, got to train with. And that's the first time I would say I had sports professionals working with me.
Right.
So, you know, we're talking in 2000. So in India, it was so tough. I think the only people who had professionals working with them would be our cricketers. We couldn't afford them and we didn't have access to them. So here I'm in Australia, an 18-year-old kid. I had access to, you know, a psychologist, somebody doing biomechanics, checking every stroke I'm doing underwater. And that really made the difference. That, and I think the Aussie attitude, you know, the never say die.
Right.
You know, you have a bad day, they say, quit whinging, Nisha. You know, get back into the pool and give it your best. And so I remember that morning when the evening was where I was going to try to do the qualifying time. I was 2 seconds away, and 2 minutes 6 seconds was the Olympic qualifier. I was at 2 minutes 8. And it seemed like a lot. 2 seconds in swimming is quite a lot.
Right.
And, you know, I dived in the heats. I said, let me just have fun. Let me just go through my race plan, how I've been visualizing it all this time. And I touched and I won my heat. And I was so excited. I was like, great, I'm going to go in a good spot for the finals.
Right.
And the first thing I do is always, before I even look at my time, is look at my mom or my dad. My dad and my sister were unfortunately in India, but mom was just going ballistic on the stands. And I'm like, what happened? And she's pointing to the scoreboard, like, look at your time. You know, and I looked at the time and I had done 2:06, you know, and I had actually qualified for the Olympics. So probably one of the greatest feelings was calling my dad, you know, and my dad and mom have sacrificed so much. They've sold their house, put into the sport, you know, just to support my sister and me. Casually, he's like, was it a good time? I said, yeah, what time? And I said, 2:06. And he said, oh my God, that's the Olympic qualifiers, you know. So that is the moment of such excitement. Of course, I think when he went to the media in those days and you had to literally approach the media, there was some, you know, cheating scandal in cricket. And they covered that. They didn't even cover the fact that I had qualified. But I didn't really care. I was so excited. I was on the way to my first Olympics.
Wow. But the only lady going from India,
Yeah.
what was it like when you're going with the entire contingent from India?
I think the most exciting part for me was getting to the Olympic Village, seeing, you know, the biggest names in sport. And because you're wearing that Olympic ID and you're wearing the India flag, they treat you like one of them. So they could be an Olympic champion. They're going to talk to you with the same amount of respect. The highlight for me was meeting our team captain, who was Leander Paes. You know, I'm a big Leander fan. He was already an Olympic medalist. He was world number 1 along with Mahesh.
Got a bronze medal in
Atlanta,
96.
the previous one, yes.
So Leander Paes.
Leander Paes is like my big hero. I had posters of him up on my walls when I was young. So the fact that I'm going to be in the same team as Leander, he was our team captain. I had this whole speech rehearsed, and I'm quite a chatty person, but I had a feeling I'd be quite blown away when I saw him. And I jumped off the bus in the Olympic Village, and there was Leander Paes. He had shaved his hair off. He was totally bald at that point. And I was speechless. I forgot all my lines. And then he came up and he said, Nisha Millet, you know, you're one of the youngest in the team, and good job being the first, you know, Indian to qualify for the Olympics. He knew everything.
Right.
You know, this is why I love Leander. Leander is like the ultimate team captain, the ultimate motivator. He spoke to me for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and that made my whole Olympics, you know. I mean, I've had some great stories, but somebody that you've grown up watching, an Indian who's now 7-time Olympian. How crazy is that,
Yeah.
right? Probably the GOAT of Indian athletes. So I think the fact that, you know, when the Olympic torch was being lit, I was in tears. I was happy tears, and I was like, oh my God, I made it, you know. And there was not a dry eye in the house. Everyone is so emotional.
But you were in Olympic for the first time.
Yes.
You just couldn't qualify in semis, but before that you were qualifying. Fat rahi thi?
I think when you go in and you hear Nisha Millet, India, and there are, I think there were about close to 8 to 10,000 spectators just for swimming, and swimming is huge in Australia. So it was great. I won my heat. You know, the reality, I was still nowhere near the top 16 is what it took to, you know, make the semis. But, you know, it feels like your big moment in the spotlight, you know. I was wearing a full body suit, which very few people had got. You know, one of the brands had sent it over to me, and that gave me so much of confidence. So I think as an 18-year-old, I felt like the world is mine to conquer. I'm going to be back at the next Olympics and, you know, try and make that semi-final. That was the thinking in 2000.
But do you think the timing in India that time worked for you because ज़्यादा competition नहीं था ladies के लिए?
Unfortunately, what we didn't have are just resources, funding, exposure to foreign coaches, better facilities, even just sports science. Sports science has come so far. You know, my daughters now are 10 years old, and they probably have more scientific training than we had. The passion was there, the hard work was there, but just not enough. We didn't have that team of experts working with us.
Right. Yeah, because nutrition is one part of it, and the biggest example is Kohli in India. The entire hockey team is onto it right now.
Yeah.
Djokovic.
Yeah.
Djokovic is a big example of sports science.
Yeah.
He's a full science experiment in front of you.
Exactly. Even somebody like a Michael Phelps, right? His lung capacity is almost double of a normal human.
Right.
His wingspan is, you know, his fingers, when he stands with his hands down, his fingers almost touch his knees. So just, you know, most of the top athletes have size 13 to 14 size feet. So you're talking about just being, you know, different, built differently.
वो तो आके उसने सारा गोल्ड उठा के चला गया वो ओलंपिक से.
You know, he has 23 gold medals, which is, you know, triple the number of medals as India as a country. You know, so if you look at it, for one individual to have 23 gold medals at so many Olympics, he really is, you know, I think the greatest of all time. You know, there's always this, who is the greatest?
See, he was built like that,
Yeah.
because in newspaper I know there was a cutout which came about the body of Michael
Yes.
Phelps, and I was like,
He's built for the pool.
what about the trans participation now? What do you have to say about that?
That's very controversial. In fact, just the other day, a friend sent me a video of one of the top male athletes who was winning even at the men's level. He's a good 6'4", 6'5". He was the tallest in their team, men and women. And now he's transitioned, and now while the transition's fine, now he wants to compete with the girls. When they did allow him to do that, he actually lapped, or was, you know, 30, 40 seconds in front of some of the Olympic champions
Right.
and the top swimmers.
It was very recently this has happened.
It's very documented. So I feel, unfortunately, while I'm all for, you know, the LGBTQ, transgender, the rights that they deserve, men have more testosterone. We know that testosterone, you know, does help you swim faster, build muscle, which is why doping comes in, right? Why do women take high levels of testosterone? Because they can be more like men, they can build muscle. So it's just unfair in terms of he's much taller, you know, he's, you know, got things
Built
like
is
testosterone,
why.
he's got more muscle mass. It's just not fair in the sport of swimming. Now you take maybe a sport like shooting or something where the physicality doesn't play as much of a, you know, big, doesn't make as much of a difference, where it's more about skill. While swimming is very skill based, it's also a lot about how tall are you, you know, how big are your feet. Now, could there be a games where, you know, transgender, you know, athletes train and compete against each other? Great. Like, I mean, I'm all for that.
Right.
But it's just not fair to the other women on the team. I don't think that's where I draw the line. You know?
Like the man was hitting rank 400 in men's.
Yes.
Came to the women's heat,
Yeah.
and he's the number one.
Number one in the world, like nobody will touch him, right?
Yeah.
So that's really not fair. And I think it's not just about being transgender. Even maybe 10 years ago, there was a great technological advance in swimsuits. And they started making swimsuits which are not fabric anymore.
Okay.
They were almost like space-age materials. Like you pour water on it, it just rolls off.
Right.
And in 1 year, more than like 120 world records went. And then
Okay.
the whole swimming community came together, and the federation, the World Federation said, wait a minute, this is not great for our sports. It's taken years to break these few records, and in 1 year, it's just been too much. So they banned those suits. They insisted that, all swimming brands have to have textile suits, and has to be approved by the federation. So fairness in sports is so important.
Right.
So I don't think it's possible, unfortunately, for transgender, men to come in and compete against the women.
It is very unfair.
Yeah.
It is. You are a 14-time gold medalist. So when you used to go for national games,
Yeah.
कहाँ के लोग सबसे ज़्यादा problem देते थे?
I would say Karnataka is always number one, but we have our toughest competition from Mumbai, Delhi swimmers, couple of the Goan athletes. But for me, I think this was at Manipur National Games. The most tough part for me was not even swimming those 14 events. Actually, I swam 15. I got 14 golds and 1 silver. But it was the fact that we had heats and finals. So I swam 30 races in about 5 to 6 days. So that was exhausting. And we didn't have a heated pool. We were not fancy in those days. So we had a non-heated pool in Manipur in the middle of winter. So my biggest achievement is just swimming through the pain of, fingers would literally be turning blue, your lips would be slightly blue. And to just motivate yourself to go in, get the job done. And the sad part is I came back to Bangalore and they're like, wow, she's a hero. She got 14 gold medals. We're going to give her 1 lakh per gold medal, which would have helped my career enormously in terms of funding for my parents. And then finally the government turns back and says, oh, sorry, we don't have that kind of money. So you got 14 gold medals. Instead of 14 lakhs, here's 1.4 lakhs for you.
What?
So from 1 lakh, they brought it down, and it was so disappointing and so upsetting to know that, my parents are selling their house here. I've done this for the state, and I think all that comes from the little bit of a, the jaded feeling of a lot of the athletes who were not getting the due, who were not even getting prize money what was due to them.
Yeah.
One of the legends of Indian badminton, 10 times national champion, Commonwealth Games medalist. And she is just someone with, the best work ethic and the best attitude. So we'd catch up on weekends, we'd go and have one corner house ice cream, one nice pizza, We would treat ourselves only on the weekends. In the weekdays, we were serious, we were focused on our sport. And this is one line of Aparna's that I like. She says it's a choice. If you really want something, then it's not a sacrifice. You're choosing this over something else.
Right.
And so I chose to leave my parents, leave my sister, come to Bangalore and train. So even I did something similar when I was living in Chennai. My dad said all the good swimmers are in Bangalore.
What's your Bangalore story?
I love Bangalore. Like, I'm from Chennai,
Right.
but now if you ask me, I'm a Bangalorean. You know, I've been here from the time I was 14. I'm 42 now. There's absolutely no reason I would go anywhere else. My husband has been born and brought up here. My kids are Bangaloreans, and you know, at the end of the day, even when I see some of my swimmers or even other top national swimmers who go out of India, they want to study even in the field of sports, I keep telling them, you know, do whatever you want to, get your expertise, your knowledge, but come back to India.
Right.
You know, come back to Bangalore. The biggest problem for athletes these days, I feel, is just to focus, right? They have so many distractions.
See, that's there. And like Neeraj Chopra,
Yeah.
if your success is like Neeraj Chopra, you can fall as well and you can rise as well.
Exactly.
So what he chose was to rise and support other people.
Yeah.
So since he's supporting other people, he's also focused in his sport.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking up to him.
Yeah, really. And you know, I think even the attitude, which is why, you know, I have this bias. I'm totally anti-cricket, only for the sheer amount of money and attention that it gets from everybody in the country, right? So when I was in Australia, once we were having a state swimming competition and the top Australian swimmers were there. And in the other pool on the side, I think it was Adam Gilchrist had come in with his son to swim. Now, if this was India and that was Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli, they would stop the swim meet and just go and watch, you know. But here they're like, oh, there you go, there's Adam Gilchrist. And they're like, okay, great. And they go back to watching a state level swimming competition.
Right.
So, you know, I want all sports to be treated equally. So when Neeraj Chopra won and I heard that javelins were selling out all over India,
Yeah.
it's such a moment of pride. Or when my neighbor, he lives just downstairs, Rohan Bopanna at 43, he's a year older than me.
Won a Grand Slam.
Yeah, Grand Slam, world number 1.
Yeah.
He's been competing.
Kids these days, what do you have? What's your take on Gen Z?
Gen Z, I think they're very distracted. And I think a lot to do, a lot of it is to do with social media, right? While social media is great for business, it's great for information, for putting yourself out there. One is this obsession of being an influencer, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have a skill and you're going to showcase that on
You do that.
Instagram or on, that's great. I have all appreciation for that. You're a chef. You're putting it out there, your videos, just being, saying and doing silly things and being an influencer, that's not it for me. So as parents, we're trying everything. So I think what we need to do is, one, put our child into some extracurricular activity. It's not just
Right.
about studies. Try out different, even if it's a sport, try out different sports. Just because I'm a swimmer, I didn't presume my kids would be good in swimming. They have chosen swimming now, but they still they tried out badminton, they tried out gymnastics, and then they realize that, okay, I like swimming more than the others. So give them that choice, and at the end of the day, it's their dream, it's not yours. Your only goal is just to guide them to do what they want to do, not what you want them to do. You know,
So do you think a lot of people say they're aware? So they have information,
Yeah.
but they lack knowledge.
Exactly, and experience, right? So I think being not only a parent but also a friend. So like my kids know that they can come and confide in me. Like
Yeah.
one day they'll say, I've been swimming 6 months without taking a break. I want a day off. Give them that choice that it's your life. You
Right.
are in charge of it.
Right.
And that's something my parents did for me. Like you said, they have all the knowledge. They're so very smart. They have access to the best facilities, but they need to know how to put it all together. You know, so for me, I feel sports is something that really brings discipline. So whether or not my kids get to the Olympics, I don't care. You know, you would think that I want my daughter to win an Olympic medal. No, I want her to go to the process of being a sports person. Time management, packing your own swim bag, you know, managing your nerves at a competition, learning to deal with loss and failure,
Yes.
losing all the time. So, you know, when COVID happened, a lot of the sports people, we would be talking and we'd say, don't you think that swimming or any sport has given us mental strength? Because at that point, you're stuck indoors. It was a hopeless situation, scary.
Right.
I find that the people who went through it easiest were people who had that dedication, that focused training as a kid. What sports teaches you is that you can never ever stop.
Right.
You'll have tough times and you keep pushing on, like a Rohan Bopana, right? Imagine if he had stopped. 5 years ago, he hadn't
Yeah.
won a single tournament in about 5 months.
Right.
And he decided to continue, and now he's world
Now
champion.
he's a national hero.
Exactly. So, you know, it's just about just sticking to your path, figuring out what you're good at. And I was lucky where what I was good at is also something I was able to monetize and, you know, make it a passion.
But you know, on this,
Yeah.
of course, you have the swimming background. You
Yeah.
got into teaching swimming.
Yeah.
How big was a part your husband played in this?
You know, it was huge. I think people now forget how important that role is, because not only is my husband right now my life partner, he's raising twins with me, and we also run the academy together. So I can't tell you how much of a support he plays. And he comes from a totally different background in terms of him not being a professional sports person, having to learn what it takes. And now he's a, you know, father of 2 professional swimmers, you know, so they're also learning to, they're competing now at events. And it's also sometimes as athletes, we are very, very selfish. You know, we are the center of everyone's, you know, the coach is talking to you, you have your trainers talking to you, everything is on you. It all becomes about me, me, me. So I think the greatest learning for him is he's given so much, but he also tells me, don't be selfish, you're not a swimmer anymore, you know. So sometimes I have to take a step back and say, yes, it's not all about me. It's about my husband, it's about the family, about my kids. But, you know, every diaper that I change, he changed an equal diaper. I feel there are no gender roles anymore. It has to be equality in all ways. We have our own separate bank accounts. So I'm not dependent on him. He's not dependent on me. We pay individually for each of our kids, you know. So I pay for one child, he pays for one child. So this is the modern marriage, you know, where
Who's pampering more? You or?
I would definitely say I pamper a little more. You know, and I'm a big birthday person. I'll go splash out on gifts. So last time for our anniversary, it was our 15th year wedding anniversary, and he said, what do you want? And my mum was expecting me to say diamonds or something. I said, I want weightlifting shoes. And he's like, sure. He knows, you know, like this is who my wife is, this is who I'm married. She's, you know, I'm training for the CrossFit Open, which is like a new challenge for me.
You watch movies?
Yes, I do.
What kind?
Mostly a lot of these suspense thrillers, even the books I read. So I'm big into that. Of course, sports movies, right? I watched like King Richard about Venus and Serena Williams. I was crying.
Movie that was.
It was amazing. I watched Dangal. I was in tears. So you give me a sports movie, I'll obviously watch only that.
What are your top 3 favorite movies?
So yeah, I would say number 1 was King Richard, just because I resonated with it so much. Being
Not much of drama in that movie.
not
though.
drama, but just
Hai nahi.
I was crying because like I can see, you know, Mr. Williams just like my dad. I can see Serena and Williams like my sister and me. It just, the entire story was like watching my own life, you know, play out on screen. Sports movies, Dangal would be my second favorite, just to have that raw passion. you know, the tough upbringing of these girls. So I'm just a big movie buff, and my favorite part of movies, caramel popcorn. No caramel popcorn. Once I almost left. My husband's like, "Didn't we come for a movie?" I'm like, "I also came for the caramel popcorn. Come on."
Wasn't there तो अभी movie नहीं देख
Yeah,
सकते.
exactly. So you know, I'm a big movie buff, but yeah, I mean, I love all genres. I think we should watch different kinds of movies. And at the end of the day, I'm not such a big Bollywood film buff. I would say I would like the hard-hitting movies more. Yeah.
Who are your top 3 favorite actors? Bollywood.
Bollywood, I would say Shah Rukh Khan. I would say Deepika Padukone, only because I know her, to see where she's come. Amitabh Bachchan, of course, just
Amitabh
for
Bachchan, right.
being Amitabh Bachchan.
बिल्कुल मोहतरमा ऐसा ही होता है.
So I've actually an ad with Amitabh Bachchan.
Oh, you did?
So other people got more excited about it than I got, but he was in this project that I was doing, and he's talking in his Bachchan voice, and then he's actually introducing all of us. How
Okay.
cool is that, right?
What was he saying?
We were talking about the fact that we're doing these child-centric homes, and he was saying, you know, if your children, you want to give your children the best, and what better than to put them with the best of these athletes? These people have their own academies here. Bring your kids to their academies. I was like,
Wow.
wow, you know, Amitabh Bachchan's talking about your academy.
Let me take you back. अपने बच्चों को अकेडमी में डालिए और निशा मिलेट की अकेडमी में जरूर डालिए जिससे वो तैरना सीख सके.
Wow, that's a great invitation.
So, okay, give me the actor's name. I'll ask you the next question. This is a rapid. Some scandalous stories ना from
Scandalous stories, I would say.
कोई दारू पी के गिर गया या कुछ हुआ थप्पड़ मार दिया.
Forget about that. You know, I was at an 18th birthday party of one of my swimming teammates in Australia, and this man comes out revealing the cake, huge cake, 3-story high cake, and suddenly he starts stripping. And I was 16, and this is an 18-year-old's birthday party, and he starts like, and her parents had got her a stripper for her 18th birthday. Come on, like, would you ever see that in India? No. I was just blown away, you know.
आमिर खान. Okay. और मुझे एक बात बताओ, ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ है जो तुमने पहले करी है लेकिन दोबारा नहीं करोगी?
Oh my God, Amir Khan was.
कौन सी चीज़ है?
Pierce my belly button. Never again. Every time I come out of the pool, my swimsuit would rub against the belly button, and I would be crying in pain. I was like, what is wrong with me? I was trying to be cool, like a cool kid, you know, a teenager. Let me get a belly piercing. Not a good idea.
No, not
Never
good
again. No.
Professional hazards.
Yeah, totally.
Huh. Next name.
Ranbir.
अगला जो सवाल है तेरे लिए वो बहुत सिंपल है यार निशा वो ये है कि व्हाट इज योर यूजलेस टैलेंट
Useless talent. That's a good one. I have no idea. Let me think about this one.
You know, I have a useless talent.
Okay, tell me.
And that is, see, can you see this finger is big, this
Yes.
small. Now this will become small, this will become big.
Okay.
Goes.
So those kind of useless talents.
That's my useless talent.
I would say, yeah, useless talent for me would be lying to my kid for 10 years about being Santa Claus, right? About not being Santa Claus.
Okay.
Tooth fairies. Suddenly in COVID, my daughter lost her first tooth. 200 rupees had to come magically, under the... So finally now my kids are 10. I've told them, listen, Santa Claus is not real. Tooth fairy is not real. Welcome to the real world. So no more talents
My
anymore.
talent worked for 10 years.
Yeah. Then they said, Mama, we knew. We saw your handwriting on the gift. We knew it was you. So apparently I'm very useless at even this talent. Hrithik Roshan.
I mean, I just want to ask you, what's the right way to get your attention, Nisha?
The right way to get my attention nowadays is to lift something really heavy.
Okay. an icon of Bengaluru.